Brains versus bronze, a seemingly timeless debate that, as of yet, doesn't have a true answer. However, in Big Klaus and Little Klaus by Hans Christian Andersen, we learn just how much brains truly does triumph. This story is intended for young children. A long time ago in a German village, there were two men named Klaus. Big Klaus was a strong old man who was pretty rich considering that he herded cattle for a living. And Little Klaus was a weak, poor young man. However, what he lacked in wealth and strength, he more than made up for with his intelligence. Given that he was poor, though, he'd often have to ask Big Klaus if he could borrow one of his cattle, just to take into town and pick up some supplies. Big Klaus agreed, so long as Little Klaus, one, always paid Big Klaus, and two, never claimed that Big Klaus's cattle was actually Little Klaus's cattle. Little Klaus would pay him with what little money he had, but he didn't take the second rule so seriously. One day, when he got overly excited, he started jumping up and down, saying, "Oh, I love my beautiful cattle." "Hey!" Big Klaus yelled. "Don't you say that again, or you'll be in trouble." He didn't listen, though. And when Big Klaus heard Little Klaus saying it again, he got very mad. "Oh, I love my beautiful cattle," Little Klaus claimed. "That's it," Big Klaus yelled. "You're gonna pay." Yeah. So, Big Klaus ran to his house, grabbed the first axe he saw, went to Little Klaus's personal cattle, brought the axe up, and swung it down, decapitating Little Klaus's cattle, and about to do the same to Little Klaus. However, Little Klaus ran away as fast as he could and was able to escape just in time. Big Klaus, tired, decided to go home and hunt for him the next day. By nightfall, Little Klaus returned home and decided that he needed to get away from the village and get away from Big Klaus. But he needed money, and he had nothing left to give, except maybe what was left of his cattle. He grabbed a knife and started skinning its hide, cutting out all of its organs and chopping it into little pieces. He then put everything in a big burlap sack, swung it over his shoulder, and started walking toward the town. Eventually, though, it started to rain. But luckily for Little Klaus, he came across an inn that was right next to a barn. He knocked on the door. It slowly opened. "What do you want?" a shrill-sounding old lady asked. I'm sorry," Big Little Klaus replied nervously. I just wanted a place to sleep for the night." "There's no room," the old lady replied. "Leave." With that, she slammed the door, and Little Klaus was forced to sleep in the barn. He climbed up the ladder and settled in for the night. But before he fell asleep, he saw through the window on the side of the house that there was a table with fine wine, delicious-looking bread, and succulent meat, and a rather handsome-looking young man. He fell asleep eventually, and the next morning, an old man, climbing up the ladder, saw Little Klaus and asked him what he was doing there. Excuse me," the old man asked. "What are y'all doing here?" Little Klaus awoke, startled. I'm sorry, I just wanted a place to sleep for the night, and the lady in there, she would not let me in." "Well, now that's ridiculous," the old man said. "You come on down, and my wife will fix you something nice and good to eat." They went into the house, and Little Klaus noticed that there was no wine or bread or meat, and the handsome young man was gone. Little Klaus knew exactly what was going on, and decided to get his revenge on the old lady. The old man and Little Klaus sat down at the table. The old man, noticing the sack, asked what was in it, to which Little Klaus replied, "Well, you see, there's a magical wizard in here that can grant me any wish I want. For example, I believe that there's a nice bottle of wine right in that cupboard over there." The old man got up from the table, walked toward the cupboard, opened it up, and sure enough, there it was, a nice bottle of wine. The old lady looked at Little Klaus with an angry stare, to which Little Klaus just responded with a smug look. "Now," Little Klaus said, I believe that the devil himself is in that crate right behind you. Pointing to the crate behind the old man. The old man, nervous, tiptoed slowly to the crate, started opening it up very carefully, and then jumped back in terror, seeing the man from the night before, but to him it was the devil himself. So he slammed the lid down, chained it up. He asked little Klaus if he could take the crate to the river and dump it in, and if the old man could have the burlap sack with the wizard. In return, the old man would give little Klaus a nice big sack of gold. Little Klaus agreed to this, gave the old man the burlap sack, took the gold and the crate, and was about to dump it in the river. But when he arrived at the bridge, he heard a knocking from the inside. "Excuse me," a voice could be heard. "Please, let me out. I promise you I will give you a even bigger sack of gold." Little Klaus was skeptical, but decided to let the man out. He had done no harm to him, so what was the worst? He let the man out, and together they walked to his house. True to his word, the man gave little Klaus an even bigger sack of gold. With this, little Klaus now had enough to leave the village and start a new life. On his way to buy a cart and food for the long journey ahead, little Klaus came upon Big Klaus, who had a rope in hand that he intended to use on little Klaus. But he was surprised. How did little Klaus get all that gold in such a short amount of time? He asked, "How? Where did you get all this gold?" "Well, you see," little Klaus replied, "there are gold nuggets at the bottom of the lake. I was able to dive deep down there and stay there long enough to collect some. But I had to weigh myself down. Perhaps you should do the same." Big Klaus looked around for any heavy object and found 2 conveniently placed cinder blocks. He grabbed them, walked to the edge of the bridge, and tied them to his legs, and then jumped in the river, never resurfacing, and showing once and for all that brains triumphs over bronze. Thank you.